Hi, guys. Welcome back. This is Nationalism 1800 to 1820. One of the big themes that you guys have to understand is from 1800 to 1860, it's going to be this continuing fight between nationalism and sectionalism. Nationalism is dominant for the first 20 years of the 19th century. So the first thing that is very nationalistic is Jefferson, not long after he becomes president, has the opportunity to basically double the size of the United States. France is still fighting the Napoleonic Wars. They're short of cash. Napoleon ran into some bad luck in Haiti for our luck. And this was kind of a huge thing, okay? The big thing is the free navigation of the Mississippi River. We now control New Orleans. But it's also huge that we basically removed a European presence from our borders, okay? And that made us safer, very nationalistic. Lewis and Clark and Sacagawea go and explore all the way out to the Pacific Ocean, and this is going to open up more expansion in the future. Jefferson so loved the Lewis and Clark expedition. This is his entry hall at his home in Monticello. And as you can see on the walls, there are many Native American artifacts and many of the animals out there, including bison, that most people in the East had never seen before. Secondly, the Marshall Court. Make sure you look at your court cases in here, but the big one was Marbury versus Madison. Okay, Jefferson did not like the Marshall Court. He was a Federalist. He's the last Federalist in power after basically 1812. But judicial review is the big concept here. Okay, that's absolutely important that you guys understand the judicial review, and it's this idea that set up that the Supreme Court was the ultimate arbiter of laws, both by the executive and the legislative, and it strengthened the checks and balances in the new Constitution. The Marshall Court is very important for this, but by giving this court the strength, it strengthened the federal government. Next thing would be the post-War of 1812. Mr. Irvin went over the causes of the War of 1812. Post-War of 1812, two major concepts, really one major concept: nationalism, nationalism, nationalism. Okay, this picture that you see here, we owe allegiance to no crown. This is after the War of 1812. It overshadowed sectionalism. People were, for the first time, identifying themselves as Americans. They weren't calling themselves Virginians or Kentuckians. They were Americans. And we had developed our own non-European culture, and the federal government grew, and the economy expanded, and this was nationalism. Now, something that added to this was the end of the Federalist Party, which made people feel that politics were no longer important. The Federalists opposed the War of 1812, and they came to the Hartford Convention, and they wanted to break off. They actually brought up the concept of nullification and breaking off from the Union, and this made them look like traitors. And for all practical purposes, after the War of 1812, the Federalist Party no longer existed. This led to then a very brief period of one-party rule under the president of Monroe. This was known as the era of good feelings. People were feeling proud. This is a great picture here. American flags waving. The economy is expanding. We have no more wars. The Napoleonic Wars are over, and they're not impacting our country anymore, and we're feeling good. This will not last long, okay? However, the economy at this time was really ginning up. This is Ms. Shackton talking about the market revolution. Henry Clay wanted to make this fact by presenting the American system, having protective tariffs that would protect American business, rechartering the National Bank, which had stopped in 1811, and a Jeffersonian, think about this, recharters the bank. Madison recharters the bank. Remember how much Madison and Jefferson were against it, but now they realized that Hamilton was right. We needed a national bank. Internal improvements didn't happen. Canals and roads happened, but they happened at the state level. Both Madison and Monroe did not feel that it was the federal government that was responsible for internal improvements. However, Clay's whole idea was to nationalize the national economy, and he failed in this, as you will find out. Okay. And then finally, we're continuing to expand beyond the Louisiana Purchase. Andrew Jackson went after some Native Americans and escaped slaves into Florida and defeated some Spanish forts. Spain decided that they should get something out of Florida before the United States just took it from them, so they sold it to us for $5 million during the Antrim-Onis treaty. And again, this is more nationalism. Jackson had been the hero of the War of 1812, and now he got Florida for us for $5 million. Think of that Disney and orange juice for just $5 million. It was a pretty good deal. However, this brief period leading into our next chapters for next week is going to start to crumble, this facade of an era of good feelings. There's a major economic panic, the first in American history in 1819, which kind of shatters this growing economy, and it's considered to be the first depression in American history. And then the Missouri Compromise literally draws a line between the country, between the slave states and the free states. And this is going to be a warning sign of what is to come in the 1850s and 1860s, obviously. So there's economic dislocation and political dislocation. Okay, so nationalism versus sectionalism, very key topic. Make sure you know both sides of the argument. Thanks, guys. Oh, sorry. And one last thing. Clay attempted to keep nationalism afloat despite the deepening sectionalism. This is what the Missouri Compromise was about. This is a great political cartoon that will help you with this. Now, thanks, guys. Bye.